Welcome in, everyone, to Spiritual Roots Podcast with me, Misty. I'm so grateful to have you here. This is episode 0, the beginning. I am so excited to start this podcast. A couple of reasons why I wanted to start it is because I love hearing about people's spiritual journeys, healing journeys, their practices, their rituals that they do. I'm really just interested in this topic. And having gone through a spiritual awakening myself, I love to hear other people's stories. And I thought that this was a great platform to do that if they're willing to share their stories. I'm just really excited. So a little bit of background about me. I am 44. I'm married. I have 2 dogs, own a home, have a regular 9-to-5 job. But there's always something more. I have my own practice. I do ritual. I read tarot. I do oracle readings. I read for other folks. It's just something that really lights me up. This topic really just lights something up inside of me, and I turn into like a giddy little kid when this topic comes up, and I really just look forward to having conversations with folks. This podcast is going to be conversation. It's going to be solos with me. Excuse me. And I hope that it brings content to other people, especially if they are going through a spiritual awakening or even just a different path. You know, if you've taken one spiritual route and that's not jamming with you and you decided to take another route, I love that. And that's why I'm starting this podcast. I'm sorry about my voice. It's early in the morning. I did have some coffee, so I was hoping my voice would be a little bit clearer, but anyway, I digress. So a little bit about me. I'm nervous. I have no idea what I'm doing. So if I'm a little faster, absent-minded, it's just because I'm nervous. So I put this out there that I was doing this podcast, and I've been talking about it for a while. It's just been in the back of my brain. Talked about it with my friends, talked about it with my husband, and it's just always been on the back burner. Nothing really came of it. And recently, my husband just kept saying, you should do a podcast, you should do a podcast. And he just kept saying it, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, you're right, I should do a podcast. Just because he knows that I love this topic so much. I love getting out there, meeting people, like-minded people, like-souled people, and just having conversation. I have a group I'm a part of called Gaia Goddess Group, and it meets once a month. And it's a local group here in the Upper Valley of New Hampshire that my friend started. And it's just a place for women to gather, and it's really beautiful. It's where we can be open and safe, and it's just those types of spaces that I really enjoy and look forward to getting into. And I look forward to that every month. You know, it's only a couple hours. Sometimes it runs over. It doesn't matter if the vibe's really going. It's just something I look forward to, and that's what I'm talking about. Spiritual roots. Like, where is your spiritual practice taking you? Who's it connecting you with? That's what this podcast is about. But we also are going to go, off topic and just talk about paranormal experiences, because I love that subject too. I love ghosts. I love aliens. I love the unknown. Those topics to me have always just been enthralling. And that's why I'm starting this podcast, because I have friends who, are on spiritual journeys. They're healing from something. We all have something that we're healing from. It doesn't matter. You talk to one person, and I guarantee you that they are on some sort of journey. Currently, they've healed from something. Someone always has a story if they're willing to share, and you're willing to listen and just hold that space for them. that's what this podcast is about. So a little bit about me, going backwards now. I have always been an intuitive kid. I remember when I was younger, my mom would tell me about how I would sleepwalk at night, tell her that someone was in my room. I remember specifically one time, I think maybe I was in 8th grade. We lived in this mobile home, and one night outside my room, my mom told me the next morning that she saw this woman standing outside my door dressed in white. I'd never seen her. My mom saw her. And there's always been things around me like that, where my mom would pick up on those. But it was around me, if that makes sense. I remember one time being in that mobile home, and I was home alone, and one of the sconces on the wall turned upside down, and I hightailed it the fuck out of that trailer. I was so scared because I didn't know. I had no idea. And things like that have always been around me. I wouldn't say that I've seen ghosts. I feel them. I've heard them. And we'll get into that later. I'm not going to divulge everything first episode, but those are the topics that I want to bring to this podcast. Things like that, where I just have good connections with people. So I'm going to have, like I said, guests on. I already have them lined up, quite a few people so far. This is just me rambling for this very first episode, and I'm just really excited. I can't wait for this to take place, and I hope that you're all going to get something out of this podcast, and I'm just really excited. I can't say it enough. So fast forward a little later in life, in my 20s, I would say, I really started to party, as one does in their 20s. And, started in high school, I'd say like around 8th, 9th grade. I started to get into the party mode, and it really took off after I graduated high school. That's the path I chose. I just wanted to party it up. So that's what I did. So things shut down for a long time. And I got into some trouble, drinking wise. And that slowed me down a little bit. Not a lot, but it did slow me down. It made me realize, hey, maybe this path isn't for you, and you're going a little too fast, and you just need to slow down. So I met my husband when I was 25, and I realized, I'd been living in the same area my entire life. I had never gone or moved anywhere other than the Upper Valley. So I stayed in the same state, met my husband, but I moved to the seacoast down by the ocean, and it was beautiful. I lived there for many years with him, and I started to realize, I need to really get my life together here. So I ended up going to school. I got an associate's degree in graphic design. So I slowly, by like 27, which I think is around when your Saturn returns. Don't quote me. I don't know my chart all that well, but I heard that recently, and now it's really made sense to me. And it all makes sense now. That's when I started to really turn my life around a little bit at a time. It didn't happen quickly, but I got a job. I didn't go into the field I went to school for. I stayed at the full-time job I had. It was retail. I was in retail for 11 years, and that just broke me down. It was not for me. It is for some people. Retail is not my jam. And in 2018, I decided to leave. And I took a new job, which is my current job now. And I was still feeling it. I was still drinking pretty good. It never affected, my job, but it affected me. Okay? So 2019 came, around December, so it was winter solstice of 2019 is when I would say I started this adventure that I've been on for 6 years now. And I decided I was going to lose weight. And once I started that path, that route that I took, that really started to open me up intuitively, because I was getting outside. I was walking 3 miles a day, every day, towards me kind of slowing down now. I'll get into that in just a minute, but I was outside doing 3 miles, and I was just exposed to nature, and that really started to open me up spiritually. Nature is magic, and if you don't get out in it enough, I strongly suggest you take advantage of the beauty that we have that surrounds us. You know, I started to connect to animals. I saw this one owl that would follow me around. I saw deer where I wouldn't expect to see deer, because we lived in this community, kind of like a cul-de-sac, not as small, but same idea. I love that apartment, and a lot of great things happened there. We got our dog Bandit, so we raised a border collie. We had for him for 9 years. Unfortunately, we had to put him down in February of this year, 2025. Hardest thing we ever had to do, my husband and I. We miss him so much, so that was a tough road. But getting back to 2019. So I started that journey. I started to get into tarot again. I bought my first deck when I was 19. I never opened it. I don't know why. Honestly, I think it was out of fear a little bit, even though I was totally into that stuff. We had a great store when I was a teenager called the Whirling Dervish in West Lebanon, New Hampshire. And if anybody listening to this remembers that store, it was the only metaphysical store around here, and I was attracted to that place like a moth is to light. I picked up my first books there, Silver Raven Wolf. She, I think, for us 90s kids, I think she was the gateway for all of us who are into witchcraft now, or the craft in general, right? Because, I mean, Teen Witch was my go-to book. And I read her readings, and at the time, I'm backpedaling a bit now, but this just came to me. At the time, I was kind of struggling with Christianity and my pull towards, the witchy side of things. And her book, Teen Witch, really talked about that, and that really got me. So if you have a teenager in your life that is maybe wanting to go to the witchier side of things, I highly recommend that book. I think it's a great gateway, especially if they're struggling with, religion versus, being a part of the witchy community. She really touches a lot of points, and I don't know if she gets enough credit for that. So thank you, Silver. It was awesome. So back to where I was, 2019. Doing my journey, started losing weight, started opening up. I started to really get in tune with myself, listening to my body, listening to my intuition. Every day was a new adventure. I mean, I would see, signs, and it was just wild to me, the connections, because I was open and willing to see them. From guides, from a small little mouse on the road who was injured, and I was like, what do I do? I would have never seen that if I hadn't been out in nature and connecting. Do you know what I mean? That's the type of topics I'm talking about here. So fast forward a little bit more, 2021, our complex was put up for sale. The new landlords were evicting people so they could renovate and re-rent these apartments. And they were beautiful apartments. They were luxury apartments. They were gorgeous, and it was just going to be way too expensive for us. So we started looking for a house. So I started a manifestation box. I started working with that, and I put in, my intention, and I would sit with that every day for about 10 minutes. And, this was during COVID, so I was working from home, which was the best thing that ever happened to me, honestly. I really miss working from home because that's when I really was able to just connect and practice, but work at the same time. It was a wonderful balance, in my opinion, in my experience, for me anyway. And I started working with that box, and I had a saying in there that I would work with every day, and it was like 5-10 minutes. It wasn't long at all. I had a crystal in there. I think I had citrine. Don't quote me, it's been a long time. But I had a little altar that I set up for the first time ever, and I would sit there, and I would add crystals that I connected with. I would add art that I connected with. I made art to put on my altar because I paint watercolor, I sketch. So I put touches of myself in my altar. Flowers, whatever it was, I brought in pieces that my grandfather had made just to have that ancestor connection, because my grandparents were a huge part of my life. So I wanted to include them in there. And just these things just started to build as I started to get in tune and just pay attention to my soul. And eventually we got the house. We purchased it for my parents. They wanted to move anyway, but we had house hunted for a very long time, and it was so difficult. Everybody was buying a house. It was wild out there. And my parents had wanted to move anyway, and we really just couldn't find a place. And they were like, hey, we want to move anyway. Do you want to buy our house? But that still took a lot of work for us to even get this place. Granted, it was from my parents, and we didn't have any competition, but it still required work on our part, if that makes sense. We still had to, plan for inspections. We still had to do all those things as you would with just buying a house from a stranger. So we started to get that paperwork in order. We did end up buying the house. We're here now. I'm back in the Upper Valley. So I'm back to where I grew up, full circle. My husband's with me now, obviously. And that's where we are. And that was my spiritual awakening, and it was beautiful. And there was more to it, but I don't want to bore you all with that. I just want to give you the cliff notes. I still have my altar. I'm actually in my sacred space now, this room that I'm in. It's painted this beautiful dark green, and when I come in here, I'm just instantly grounded. This is my space. My altar is right across from me. I'm looking at it now. I pull cards every morning. I just got back into my practice. I've been healing from a knee injury since the spring. Not a good time. We had, like I had mentioned, we put our dog down. Anybody who's had to do that, that is so hard. I understand. I feel you. And that hurts your soul. So 2025 hasn't been the best, but you know what? I'm on the backside of it now. We're in September, and this is my time of year where I really start to gear up. Fall is my time. Fall through winter solstice is my jam. This is when I really start to get creative, get motivated. And that's funny because this is the time where we're supposed to, kind of die down a little bit, put our gardens to bed, find balance, and just be and listen. And I do that too. But it's also the time where my creativity comes out. This is my time of year. And I've noticed that since I started working my spiritual roots, since I started walking them and really paying attention to the seasons. I do follow Wheel of the Year. So if you don't know what that is, maybe we'll do an episode on it briefly. A quick solo episode or something. But look into that if that's something you're interested in. The bottom line is just working with the seasons. There's more to it than that, but that's the clean, that's the bottom line version. I can't find the words to describe what I'm trying to say. So, but again, this is my year. This is my time of year, excuse me. I'm really excited for this because, like I said, I just turned 44 last month. So I'm in my 8th year. I do like numerology. I am no expert by any means, but that is something I'm interested in, and I throw it in my tarot reading sometimes, especially if I'm doing a birthday reading for somebody. I just like to throw in how old they are and just break that down into a single number and go by that. And like I said, I'm in my 8th year, so this is the year of infinite possibility for me going into this year of turning 45 next summer. I'm a Leo. I'm fiery. I'm a Scorpio moon and a Capricorn rising, so I have a lot of drive and emotion that comes along with that. But I hope that this episode finds you well. Sorry about my ramblings. Like I said, I'm nervous. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so excited. I don't even give a fuck that I don't know what I'm doing. That's usually how I roll, honestly. I usually go feet first into the fire and see how it goes. And honestly, most of the time, it works out amazing. It may not be the way I had seen it, but it works out in the way that it's supposed to and in the most beautiful way. And if it doesn't, that's how it was supposed to work out. And usually, I find a lesson or a new path that branches from it, from that roadblock. So quickly, a recent book that has really inspired my path where I am now, because I have slowed down on my weight loss journey. I'm not going to lie. I've battled some depression because I did get sober. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Winter Solstice 2022 was the last time I had a sip of alcohol. It's the last time I took a drink. Got pretty hammered. Woke up under not great circumstances to my own doing. And I said, I'm done. This is the quick version. I said, I'm done. And I've been on that path ever since. And this is a hard road. That is one obstacle I was not prepared for, was the hard wall of depression that comes with getting off alcohol. And I would assume any substance that's been altering you. So if you are on that journey also, I stand with you. I walk with you. And some days I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? I would rather just pick up a drink and party it up with my friends, because it makes you feel isolated sometimes. I'm going to go on a quick tangent. Stopping something that is very social makes you feel isolated. And that's a hard thing to deal with. So I'm just putting that on the table, and you are not alone if you are starting this journey. If you're 10 years into this journey, it doesn't matter. It comes in waves. It ebbs and flows. And that's another thing I want about this podcast. You're not alone if you're going through any of these journeys, that my guests bring up. If you can relate to them, just know there are other people out there that are walking this path with you. It may not be the same, but we're all parallel here. And I just want to bring that up. So one book that really hit me in the past year or so, it might be almost 2 years now, is Walking with Persephone by Molly Remmer. That book is beautiful. I highly recommend that book if you are a woman in her 40s, just turning 40, because that's the time frame that the author is writing this book. I believe it's around her 40th birthday. And she owns her own business. It's Molly Remmer. She's the person in the book. It's nonfiction. And she just talks about, walking her year with Persephone. I believe it was 6 months, actually. It's been a bit since I read the book, but she just talks about her experience and how she wakes up during this experience. And almost every page just hit me, and I had aha moments almost every single page. She talks about having children. I do not have children, but I still could relate with the book. And Persephone is a deity that I do work with. I haven't recently. I do leave her offerings because, I don't want to forget her. They're small. Even if it's just me, when I do my morning ritual, just thanking her, thanking my grandmother who walks with me, my spirit guide that I know that I recently met over the past few months. And it's just a beautiful book. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it already. So that's one book that's hit me. I'm sure I have many, but that one is standing out to me now. I think I dog-eared almost every page. I don't usually do that, but there were just so many great points and references that I want to go back to. And I will link that book in the show notes. But I highly recommend. I think that is all I have for today, my friends. I am so grateful for you showing up to this podcast and joining me on this crazy little journey that I am starting. And I really look forward to it. Like I said, I've already recorded 2 guests, so those will be coming up. So I'm really hoping that this catches your ear, that you enjoy it, that you get something from it, even if it's one piece. That is the whole purpose. This is to serve other people, to know they're not alone, to get educated on something. I mean, I'm not an expert on anything by any means. The only thing I have behind me is experience and time. I've never taken any classes, so I'm not an expert, but I'm hoping to have people who are, or, more educated than me, that can help teach us all. And I'm here to sit and learn with you. So thank you again. I'm so grateful. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, wherever that takes you. Take care.